We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I want to talk with you today about a rather difficult topic, and that's the topic of forgiveness. Many of you have been treated in very disdainful ways by those narcissists who have that entitled attitude. They're self-absorbed. They have little or no regard for who you are and what your needs and feelings and interpretations might be. And as a result, they have just wreaked havoc on you. And you can think to yourself, this person doesn't deserve forgiveness. Forgiveness is too good for them. And sure enough, you could point to the fact that they have created all sorts of emotional pain, or some key relationships in your life have been damaged because of your exposure to that narcissist, and they want to try to filter your relations with other individuals through them, and it has not played out well for you at all, whether we're talking about in immediate family situations or extended family or in your social life or in your work setting. Narcissists can sabotage a whole lot of goodwill that might otherwise have come, but because that person's in your life, it didn't. And you can walk away thinking, I was dealing with a schemer. I was dealing with somebody who was so completely self-absorbed that they had no regard for me in the least, and I'm supposed to forgive that individual? You might think, no, I got duped. I was defrauded. I was played. This person was in a trusted position in my life, and that person failed me. Am I supposed to forgive? That's a hard question, isn't it? Now, I have one overarching thought that guides me as I try to come to terms with a question like that with the individual that I work with, and that's this. My bottom line is, I don't want to remain emotionally tied to someone who has proven to be so dysfunctional and so damaging. And when you have a lot of resentful and bitter kinds of reaction or emotional reactions to that individual, it keeps you tied to the very one who more than gladly will pull you under. And so we're going to have to come to terms with that kind of emotion, and forgiveness is part of that coming to terms with. So I want to walk through with you 6 different thoughts that can actually help you try to come to terms with that question: can you or should you forgive that narcissistic individual? Now, I'm going to go ahead and give a foreshadowing, and this is something that many people in my position will say, and that is, let's keep in mind, the forgiveness is not done for the sake of the narcissist. You don't really owe them anything, but the forgiveness is done for your sake and for your ability to move forward. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, the first thought that I want to convey to you is this, and that is, as you begin the possibility of forgiving that individual, let's not deny the legitimacy of your feelings of disillusionment. And let's not deny the legitimacy of your pain. Sometimes people think, well, if I just forgive, that just means that, I'm just supposed to say, oh, well, no big deal. Well, actually, much of what a narcissist can do is a big deal. And like I say, I could tell you stories, and you could too, about how they can have damaged some serious relationships and other scenarios in your life. Let's not deny the fact that you hurt. Let's not deny the fact that it creates all sorts of angst on the inside. So we're not just going to say, just let it go, because there it is. A second thought, and this kind of goes right along with it, and that is, don't try to pretend like you don't have ill will toward that narcissist. Now, because a lot of times people say, well, you shouldn't hate and you shouldn't have all that anger. And ideally, well, I'd prefer that you not, but there it is. It's in you. And there are times when you just think, if a Mack truck ran over that person, it wouldn't bother me a bit. And I know you're probably not supposed to say something like that, but to go along and say, well, no big deal, it's okay. Well, that would be false. And so let's not pretend that you don't wish ill will on that individual. And basically, I'm trying to respond to the sentiment that says, you need to let it go. Don't let it worry you so much. Don't let it get to you. Well, these first two thoughts that I'm having are in the let's be honest category, and let's just acknowledge it is what it is. You have the emotion that you have, and we're not going to say that you have to quit feeling what you feel. Now, having said that, a third thought, and this may catch you a little bit off guard, but the third thought is this: accept the fact that holding on to hate, contempt, and disgust toward the narcissist is indeed an option. You can do that if that's what you deem to be appropriate. Now, when I say, holding on to hate and contempt and disdain, that's a choice, that's an option. It's like, yeah, it really is. Now, most of you would think, well, but that's not a very good option. And that's my point. You have all of this legitimate pain and you have these feelings towards that other individual. And yet, if you want to, you can say, well, between now and the end of my life, I'm going to cling to all of that for everything it's worth. And it can take you down that path where you have all of this hard and troubled feeling on the inside. And so when I say it's a choice, what I'm actually putting to you is that a choice you want to make? Is that something that you want to be known for? All of that dirty emotion that's on the inside of you. I know, speaking personally, that's not what I would want. And when I talk with people in my counseling office, I know that most of them arrive at that same conclusion. So, a fourth thought when we talk about wanting to or needing to forgive, and that is, I'm hoping you can focus on who you want to be separate from that narcissistic person. The bottom line is, when I say I don't want my emotional well-being tied to the narcissist, rather than thinking I'm just going to hold on to my reactions to that person, I'm thinking, you know what? There's a whole world of other people out there. And there are many other scenarios and possibilities of how I can live. And I want to make sure that I'm not so tied to this one individual or a cluster of people that have made life difficult that I forget that there's much else out there. And I want to be known for goodness. And I want to be known for a person that's fair and appropriate and right. Focus on who you want to be separate from that narcissistic person. And I strongly suspect it's not going to include you holding on to deeply troubled kind of feelings. Now, that presumes a fifth thought, and that is, as you move forward, I'm hoping you can highlight in your mind the lessons that you've learned by having the exposure to that narcissistic person. I recall so well one man who would say very clearly, my mother and my father were both very narcissistic. And then as I grew up, I had another sibling in my family who also followed in the same footsteps. And they were just miserable people to deal with. Lots of anger, lots of manipulation. You never knew where you stood with them. And you know what I did? I've gone a different path. I've learned how not to treat people. And this man was in a lifestyle with other individuals where they focused on fair play and coordination and conscientiousness. And it's like, I'm so committed to that. See, I like it when people can go in that direction. And I'm hoping that as you look back upon your experiences with those narcissists in your life, you can think, okay, with all the pain, are there any lessons that I've learned through that? And then what would those lessons imply? And so in forgiving, it doesn't mean that you deny the emotion, but it does mean that you focus on who you want to be as you move forward. And then finally, let's also acknowledge, as you are in the process of forgiving, let's understand that forgiveness is not a one-time decision, and you can be quite inconsistent as you try to apply that in your relations with the narcissist. Sometimes you're going to be okay, and you'll have days where it's like, okay, my emotions aren't quite so volatile today. Other times, something may come along that sparks that emotion all over again, and you feel like, well, I'm not really as far down the path as I thought. That's okay. Give yourself permission to be inconsistent. You see, let's acknowledge when we talk about the topic of forgiveness, frankly, the narcissist owes you much. It's true. They owe you a lot. But in their immaturity, in their dysfunction, they're going to refuse to give you the payment for what they owe, for what they've done. First of all, they'll deny that they've done anything wrong in the first place. So when you forgive someone, it means that you operate with certain notions that are intact. And the first thing is, I don't expect you, the narcissist, to have enough maturity to know how to make amends. That's become very clear. I see it for what it is, and I recognize that. That being the case, another primary guiding thought is the ledger is closed. Even though you do owe me much, I'll seek no further payments from you because I know that you're not going to give me whatever emotional or relational payment that would be there. What that also means, though, is I will no longer invest emotionally in you. And if it means that the relationship has to come to an end or if it has to be greatly minimized, I'm willing to do that. Forgiveness means I detach. I accept who you are, but at the same time, I'm committed to being my best version of who I am. And that's not something you or anyone else can have charge over. And it means that I'm committed to living in dignity, respect, and civility. No narcissist can take that away from me. I hope that videos such as this can give you some good food for thought. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button. And then when that bell comes up, hit that bell. And it won't actually ring, but hit it anyway and you'll get notifications. We also have a membership. You'll see the join tab, and we have our Surviving Narcissism Team Healthy membership, and it's very minimal cost. It allows you to have access to other videos that are not for public consumption, and also we have live Q&A feeds every Monday that Laura does and every Wednesday that I do, and you can get on there and it'll show you all of that. I know that sometimes topics like this can prompt the thought that perhaps you need some counseling. And it could be that you have a counselor in your area that could help you sift through these kinds of things. If you do, I would encourage you to seek that out. If not, then I would encourage you to check out the link we have below to our online counseling sponsor. And they have a wide array of individuals, professionals who are experienced that could help you out with that. In addition, we have my free to be course, online course. We're going to have others that are going to be coming along in the future. I would encourage you to look at those kinds of things as a means of self-reflection and introspection. We have links to our books, etc. Lots of resources there. I know that sometimes the question of forgiveness can feel a little awkward, but what I'm hoping is that the fact that you've been exposed to somebody who is a troubled, defrauding kind of an individual isn't going to be so predominant that they dictate who you're going to be. I want you to learn how to unhook so that you can be that best version of you that you need to be. And in doing so, it positions you to find your place of well-deserved peace.